This is a summary of Chapter 3 and Chapter 4 of Lord of the Flies. So we will begin with the 5 W's for Chapter 3. So the characters that are involved are Jack, Simon, Ralph, and the Little Ones. Little Ones is just another word for the youngest kids that are in this group stranded on this island. So basically what happens in this chapter is that Jack is hunting, and you will notice that the way he hunts is very animal-like. The way he sniffs the floor and crouches down is very even dog-like. I think they even use the word dog-like, which is one of your homework questions, by the way. But he isn't obviously a skilled hunter, and he gets pretty close, but the pig still gets away. And of course, it's probably going into a few days now that they've been stranded on this island, and guess what? These boys are going to get hungry, and fruit isn't really good to eat for a very long period of time, so you don't get a lot of nutrition from that. So at this point, Jack is getting more and more frustrated because he can't hunt correctly. He goes back to the others and he begins to start a fight with Ralph. They're both on different pages. Ralph wants to prioritize creating a shelter for safe refuge, whereas Jack really wants to hunt for meat. They also discuss how the little ones dream about beasts and snakes, and once again, this goes back to the childlike imagination that we have when we were kids and how we would get scared about various things. Simon, who is now a character that is starting to become more prominent in the novel, he has a lot of compassion for the little ones. He's the one that helps them get fruit, and at the end of this chapter, he finds a clearing and he begins to see butterflies and different insects and is observing. I want you to try to think why this is in the novel. Why does that chapter end? What do you think this foreshadows or says about this character? This takes place on the island. This chapter is important because this shows that there is some tension between the authority and leadership. People have different beliefs, so we need to learn how to respect those differences, and these boys clearly don't know how to show respect. So we're going to move on to chapter 4. Same characters from last chapter. Now we are moving into a more animalistic development that's starting to take place over the boys. Jack paints his face, he gets other boys to paint their face, and he becomes a completely different person. It kind of overtakes his character, and the id in him begins to take over and be way more dominant. He asks some of the boys to help him hunt, and unfortunately he pulls the boys that are in charge of maintaining the fire on the top of the mountain, and they leave with him, which obviously we know fire has to be stoked and fire needs more wood, and if there's no one there to do that, guess what? The fire is going to go out. Ralph and Piggy find out that the fire goes out, and guess what? A ship ends up passing by, and it misses the signal. The ship doesn't see any smoke, so there isn't a reason for the ship to come to the island to save the boys. Can you imagine? You're stranded on an island and you see a ship, and because some of the boys that were designated to be in charge of the fire leave, you miss your window of opportunity to leave. I can't imagine that. Jack and the boys come back with a carcass of a pig, meaning a dead pig. So they do find themselves successful in hunting, but guess what? It doesn't matter so much about the food, but it's so much more important to survive and get off the island. And Ralph really gets upset. He tries to tell Jack about how his priorities are not straight. Jack gets upset because, he's had this motive to really hunt, and he finally is successful, but yet no one is satisfied with him doing what he did. Jack gets mad and he punches Piggy, and he ends up breaking one of the glasses on Piggy's specs. And guess why you think that's important? I don't know if you remember in chapter 2, what started the fire? Guess what? Piggy's specs start fires. Without Piggy's specs, there is no fire. So the fact that one of the lenses break is a really bad news for the boys. They end up roasting the dead pig and eat, and Ralph calls all the boys to an assembly. This all takes place on the top of the mountain on the beach. this chapter is important because we're beginning to lose order and the boys are being more selfish and more cruel to one another. So Jack's greatest hope is fulfilled, but Ralph's greatest hope dies out. So continue to read, enjoy the novel. Please fill out those study guide questions and you will be quizzed on chapters 3 and 4 on Wednesday. Have a great weekend.